Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small...
In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about Minecraft, Christmas, and we have part one of our interview with Mindy Gibbins-Klein from Giving 1%.
Welcome, my friends, to another episode of the Kindness Project. I am joined by a man who is a bit complacent about the fact that we are going to the Amazon. It's Russell Dames, and a girl who I love so much, and she loves us so much. She's coming home before Christmas.
And then I'm coming back for Christmas.
Yeah, you like a Scottish English yo-yo, Charlotte. That's what you are. You're bouncing up and down from all the way from fairly south in the United Kingdom to fairly north. It's not right at the bottom and to the top, but it's not a million miles away.
It's further south than it is north.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's the weather down now.
That's the weather down where?
Up in Scotland.
Oh, it's pretty good. It's kind of cold, but I like it. I prefer the cold.
Yeah, I prefer the cold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, you were being a little suspicious, Charlotte, because we said what you've been up to, and you went, I'm saving this particular point for the podcast.
Okay, no, it wasn't what I've been up to, but you guys were having a chat, and I was like, I need to talk about this. I need to. So I'm gonna, say, can we get recording, guys, so I can. I have a question to ask you, Dad.
Hi, you.
Go on.
Because I'm not sure if this was a fever dream, something I imagined or not. I've been thinking about a game recently, and I can't remember if it's real or not, or if I just made it up in my head, where you play as a worm, and you get the little tiles with the letters on them, and you have to create fairy tale creatures using words.
Yeah, it's called Bookworm. It's called Bookworm. Bookworm is amazing.
I tried describing it to someone the other day, and they were like, "Are you sure you can just imagine that?"
No.
I was like, I played that with my dad.
Bookworm. That game, Charlotte, I absolutely love, is called Bookworm Adventures.
What is that on?
Steam.
It's on the PC. Steam.
Oh, PT.
You managed to find it. You must have Googled it when you got back, Charlotte.
I ain't
I
got
couldn't think of what it
PT
was
now,
called.
bye-bye.
Bookworm Adventures. Yeah, it's brilliant.
I was thinking about it the other day because someone reminded me about Carmen Sandiego, and we used to play Carmen Sandiego together when it was free on Facebook. Oh, the good old days. And then I was thinking about the
good old days when games were free on Facebook and Twitter wasn't as racist as it is now. The good old days.
And then
the good old days when Russell had... Sorry?
Oh, the joys of being middle class.
Sorry, what? I'm a working class hero, Russ. What are you talking about? Right, I'm maintaining my working class hero status.
That's right.
I am.
Sure. But
Revolution, power to the people.
Absolutely, power to the people. But I was thinking about games we used to play together when I was younger, and I started thinking about, Bookworm Adventures, which I will now put on my Steam wish list as soon as we get off this call. And then I started thinking about Spore.
Spore's a great game.
Which is already on my Steam wish list. I recommend checking it out. Looking at some of the videos, the graphics aren't as good as what you expect from a modern game, but that's because it's not a modern game.
Mind you, a lot of modern games now on Steam are going back to the old style graphics, like the picture.
Look at Undertale and stuff like that. Some of those games.
I've
had some of the bigger games, Minecraft and that.
I love Minecraft. I was playing Minecraft before we came on this call.
They're old style graphics.
Yeah, it's not always the graphics, is it? I mean, you can get some amazing. You can, I think, with a lot of modern games, if you've got amazing graphics, it does sort of drag you into the world. You need the gameplay, right? If the gameplay,
a lot of on Steam that reminds me of when we first started playing games, so them text-based games where you pick It gives you
Adventure
a
games.
line of text, and then you pick,
Oh,
and it maps it out for you.
Well, when I was a kid, when I was a kid, Charlotte, and I should remember this, we used to have choose your own adventure books.
Yep.
It was an
I've
adventure
had to choose your own
game.
adventure book.
No, they
Oh, I
still
love
do
that.
them, and you scan it with your app, and it does it like that now.
Love it.
If you're
Absolutely
looking
love it.
if you're looking for a game that's sort of like that, that has a little bit of an existential feel, but I've played it through a couple of times and I really like it. And it's good for those of you who like achievement hunting. I know who you are.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, I'm talking about you. There's a game on Steam called Slay the Princess, which I was really looking forward to. I downloaded the demo when it first popped up. It's only been out a couple of weeks, but I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. So yeah.
And that is the game review section of the Kindness Project. Done. We've recommended Bookworm Adventures, Slay the Princess. I'd like to recommend, I've downloaded but I haven't played it yet, Alien Isolation for the PlayStation. I'm currently playing Gotham Knights, which everybody had to go at, but I'm quite enjoying.
I have just. Sorry, God.
And there's loads of, and it's coming up to Christmas, so get your gaming sort of stuff in now.
And I have just downloaded Final Fantasy VII on the Mac.
Oh, that's a good shout, Russ. That's a good shout.
Have a little go
Final Fantasy VII remake, Russ, or the original?
It's the remake, so
it is very, very good.
If you like Final Fantasy, Russ, I recommend picking up some of the Persona games.
Persona's brilliant, Russ. I prefer Persona 5 to Final Fantasy, to be honest.
The trouble with the Mac is I don't get access to all the Windows ones, and there's
the high res games.
more people making Windows games than there are Mac. So I might not be able to lay my hands on it, but
they're gonna withdraw selling the Mac, and then it's gonna come back. You've read that in the news?
Oh, I haven't seen it. No.
Yeah, they're planning a big marketing campaign called Return of the Mac. Anyway,
remind me if I want to take you to Amazon with me.
That makes it sound like you're putting him in your pocket and starting.
Can you?
But I think he's trying to save money. He wants to go in the luggage.
Can you put me in your suitcase? Is that right?
Yeah.
Just imagine if you had a big suitcase and just a bloke fell out. You know what I mean?
My mum would say my suitcase is big enough for a body, so
yeah, well,
that'll be our opportunity to find out.
Well, I don't know whether you'd get me through I don't know, number one, whether I'd want to be in the luggage hold of a plane for 15 hours, right? That's number one. And number two, I'm sure they'd pick up the fact that there's a 6'2",
well, yeah,
rather large.
The fact that I'm having trouble pulling you around, it might draw attention to it.
True.
I just kind of want him to go on an adventure like at the end of Toy Story 2, where they're all on the conveyor belts with the suitcases.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, the reality is, I still want to go on the conveyor belt, the luggage belt. I mean, I like every time I see a luggage conveyor belt, I'm like, can I have a go?
Can I start on it?
I know you're not allowed. But it doesn't stop me wanting to, does it?
I've not been in that part of the airport, so I wouldn't know. But I'll let you know when.
But have you not seen Toy Story 2?
No, you won't let me know, Russ, because I'll be there with you, mate. Because everything you're doing, I'm doing for the rest of your life.
No.
Right. Let me talk to you about
reaction to that one.
Let me talk to you about my dad and your granddad. And clearly, I'm not talking to you, listener. You've got a different dad and granddad. I'm talking to Charlotte.
All of our granddads.
And I mean, he's quite a stereotypical granddad. Quite fun. A little bit bigoted. He's like all granddads. But here's where I'm going with this. We went out for lunch today because it is, when I'm recording this, ladies and gents, it's Remembrance Day in the UK. The day we remember the sacrifices that people have made to keep us a free, the Britain, the UK, a free and independent country. And my youngest daughter, Sophie, who's been on the podcast, she's been in loads of episodes, is a scout, and she got to do the Remembrance Day parade, which she was really proud of. So we went to watch her. My dad come down, and then we drove out to a nice little village pub for a little bit of lunch, which was amazing. Guess what I had, Charlotte?
I don't know, it depends on the time of year. Is it too early for pigs in blankets?
Too early to pigs in blankets. I had pigs in blankets last night, though, because Mum's trying to smuggle in Christmas into the house by buying mince pies and pigs in blankets. So I've had mince pies this week and pigs in blankets.
Don't talk about mince pies. I can't have them. I'm on that diet, isn't I?
What diet?
I really enjoy mince pies.
You really enjoy mince pies, but you're not eating any.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't have them. They're too fatty.
Oh no! What diet you on, Mus?
I'm on the.
Is it the no mince pies diet?
Well, it might as well be.
Specifically says no mince pies.
But
What are you allowed to eat? Are you allowed to eat dust, Russ?
I'm calorie counting, aren't I? So the calories in a mince pie are not good.
No, they are quite good. So I'll eat your share of mince pies, Raz, for the next.
Yeah, you might have to.
The next year. So anyway, we were at lunch and we were having a chat about your mum, Charlotte, not listeners again, and your sister-in-law, Russ, as is my wife's favourite place in the world, which is, Charlotte?
Norwich.
No, that's your favourite place in the world. What's Mum's favourite place in the world?
Barma.
Where?
I don't know, Barma. There's loads of places Mum like.
She likes Borough Market in London, but she also
the Calais wine superstore.
The Calais wine superstore. Now, apparently, now when you go to the Calais wine superstore post Brexit, it's not unlimited wine that you can bring back. There's a limit because we're out of the EU. And I joked to Grandad that actually the real reason he voted for Brexit was because he didn't want Mum to go to the Calais wine superstore anymore, and he admitted it, guys. That's the reason. It wasn't all this political stuff. It wasn't anything about immigration, right? It was to intentionally stop Mum going to the Calais wine superstore.
Typical politician, always have a plan, don't they?
Always have a plan. I mean, that's quite niche, though, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? There's a reason. The next time I'm voting is I need to think of a reason as niche as that.
He could have genuinely been concerned about your uncatchy liver.
I mean, that's true. There could be health benefits of not buying wine in the Calais wine superstore, mightn't they?
You know what was really...
As a working class hero, Russ, I don't drink wine. I eat gruel. That's all I eat.
Well,
and drink water because that's all I can afford.
I've had many dinners at your house and none of them have been gruel.
That's because we saved up when you come round.
I've ever had gruel at your house.
No,
I don't think I've ever had gruel at home. And I lived there for like 18 years.
Right, you are ruining my image as a working class hero, you two.
Thanks,
what are you doing?
You're not supposed to lie to the public. You can have a good image and still be truthful and honest. As long as you're...
I don't even think working class heroes eat gruel.
What do working class heroes eat? What do working class heroes eat?
You're not Oliver Twist. You remind me more of Fagin. Always barking your orders, never going out and doing it yourself.
Have you seen they're making a film about the Artful Dodger?
No.
Are they?
Yeah.
Who's playing the Artful Dodger?
One of the kids from the Nanny McPhee movies.
Wonder if it had that song in it. You know, the...
You got to pick a pocket or two?
No,
that was Fagin, wasn't it?
It was all of them, really.
Yeah.
Well, they done the TV series, didn't they? What was that called? Dodger? About the Artful Dodger?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just saw an ad for it on.
Cool. I'm looking forward to the Willy. What I almost just said. I'm looking forward to Willy. I'm looking forward to the Willy Wonka.
There's something we need to talk about, Dad.
We need to talk about Willy. Well, I'm looking forward.
Looking forward.
I'm looking forward to no. Right. Hold on.
Reading that, Willie.
Let me finish. Let me finish the sentence. I'm looking forward to the Willy Wonka film that's coming out. Timothy Chalamet is playing Willy.
Right.
And basically, it's the origin story of Willy Wonka. And why are you two shaking your heads? And it looks amazing. Google or you search on YouTube Willy origin story.
No.
And Willy Wonka origin story, and it will give you a really interesting video.
I'll check.
Huh?
I'll check.
I've seen it.
But yeah, it looks good, Charlotte, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What's it called?
Wonka.
Wonka. Why didn't they call it Willy?
For the obvious reasons, I think.
Willy the movie. Anyway.
People still get
what's your joke of the week going to be about, right, Charlotte?
Huh?
What's your joke of the week going to be about?
Well, without many times to the word, it might have to be about Willy.
Have we got any kindly news this week, chaps?
But I tell you recorded notes.
Oh, you know what? The producer's done his job, but the hosts have just been shocking, haven't they?
Sorry, no, that wasn't. That's not quite what happened. I said it 2 minutes before we logged on, and I forgot to mention it to you when we logged on.
Right. So I'll. On that note, let's move on to the kindness news. And I'd like to this guy. Oh, sorry. Go on. Do you want to do your jingle, Charlotte?
Kindness news. Do I need to have the news?
No, I'll do it. Remembrance edition. Emma Drummond's random acts of kindness leaving homemade poppies. An East Lothian woman has put her creative talents to good use to raise funds for the Scottish Poppy Appeal after being inspired by her grandfather as a child. Mum of two, Emma Drummond, who is originally from Prestonpans but now lives in Goose Green area of Musselburgh, makes poppies from epoxy resin, which are gifts in aid of Charity Poppies Scotland, which supports armed forces personnel and their families. She also distributes her poppies and an accompanying note around towns and villages in East Lothian so they can be found by local people who can wear them annually in remembrance of those who fought in the war. M of M's Resin Creations donated poppy pins to Musselburgh District Veterans Group and also donated 200 to a fundraising initiative organised by William Morrison, a member of the Veterans Group. Emma said that her late grandfather, Thomas Peters, chairman of Prestonpans Royal British Legion from 80 to 83, used to visit her former school with poppies. Her late great uncle George Bruce was also president of Prestonpans Royal British Legion. As a child, I was in awe of what he was doing, as what we were taught what the poppy represented. I donated every year since I was a child, and I've always been proud to wear a poppy. Emma added, I've been using epoxy resin for a couple of years now, and recently found the mould for the poppy. I make garden poppies which are put on a few family graves in Prestonpans Cemetery, and then I've got my light bulb moment. I felt this was a good way to give back. I started by gifting 100 of them, leaving them on benches, but then would be found that the indoor markets and selling them to raise money would be a good thing to do. She believes she's gifted 400 poppies so far to veterans Mr. Morrison, a member of the Musselburgh and District Veterans Group, said, Emma is an amazing young lady. We've been so grateful for her donation of items to the Veterans Club and to the Poppy Appeal. I absolutely love that. I absolutely love it. And it's really interesting. So I was speaking to my dad about, and it's really interesting because I probably consider myself a bit of a pacifist. I'm not keen on violence. However, the reality is that there are people who've put their lives on the line to fight against Nazism, to fight. And it was funny because even though I'm in my 40s and so you, Russ, and Dad's in his 70s now, we've never had to fight for our beliefs, like of fairness and liberalism and democracy.
When they first started talking about the trouble in the Middle East, Israel, it get me thinking. I wonder what that's like to just have your life turned upside down like that. They'd said to just get out, 2 million people, just get out. We're coming in, and that'll be that. If you're still there, you're in trouble.
Just to a degree. I mean, I agree.
And we see it just before that in Ukraine, where they just indiscriminately launch rockets, and so I did wonder what that'd be like.
I mean, the reality is, and again, this is some of the rights that our veterans have fought for. We live in a fairly stable liberal democracy and fairly wealthy as well. We get the opportunity to live.
We've never had to fight in some places. Are quite rough, and you have to fight on the street for bits and bobs and all that sort of stuff. People living on the street predominantly have to do that. They fight each other for scraps of food and that. But we've never seen anything like what they're experiencing.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. And I think what we've got to be grateful for is individuals who have put their life on the line through conflict to protect the freedoms and rights and the lives we lead. Because as you say,
well, I didn't think it was the people that put their life on the line. I thought it was to remember the people that lost their life protecting our liberty.
I think it's a bit of both because there was World War II veterans there. I think Remembrance Sunday came off the back of World War One, but now it's a bit more. It celebrates all veterans, so it celebrates World War II. So yeah, it was really nice to just remember how lucky we are, I think, and remember the fact that we live fairly stable, comfortable, free lives where we're free to do what we want because, what happened in World War II in terms of stopping the German war machine. So I think all of that sort of stuff. And you're right, Russ. I mean, I look at what's going on in Israel from both sides. Actually, there are, Hamas are a terrorist organisation that impacted the Israelis. I'd argue. I think the history of Israel and Palestine is a complex and nuanced one. I'd suggest that I'm not the only one to believe that Israel's going a bit over the top at the minute in terms of trying to destroy Hamas. And when you're killing civilians, you've got to think about the implications of doing that.
The way they've gone about it is all wrong.
Yeah, and actually, I think the danger is we're moving away from a peaceful resolution over there because it's becoming more polarized. And what we need is more dialogue and less. However, the reality is um, uh, there. We should be grateful for the lives we lead and the fact that we've never had to experience conflict because of the fact that people have made sacrifices for us. Charlotte, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I was, having that discussion. I was about all of that, and I was thinking about what you said about there was World War II veterans there present, and just thinking about the idea that one day there won't be anyone who actively remembers, like, has first-hand accounts of these wars.
Yeah.
So much of like our modern history, and thinking about it, the day that there is no one that remembers first-hand accounts of actually being in the wars isn't far off, right?
No.
But that doesn't mean it doesn't affect everything going forward, because we still have that element of freedom because of what happened. So even if no one remembers, people will still remember, even if they stop teaching about it, even if they stop. It will still have a ripple effect throughout our history into the future.
I mean, I suppose the only challenge we've got with that, and we've seen it time and time again, is if when we forget, history repeats itself. You know, when it's too far, there's a tendency not to remember how brutal life was and how much needless waste of life there was. So I agree, but I suppose the act of remembering is an important one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Thinking about what that means to us.
Being thankful for what we have.
Yeah. 100%. So I really like that. I really, even though traditionally, I'd rather see conflict end in dialogue and peace. You know, when you're dealing with people like Hitler, you just couldn't do that, could you? So
Sometimes you just have to use force, don't you?
yeah. So I'm grateful for the people who've done that on our behalf to protect the freedoms and democracies we sometimes probably take too much for granted. So thank you for everybody who is involved in poppy appeals, in helping out. You know, there were I reckon 100 plus people on the street supporting the march today, including all the scouts, including the police, including the local church. Loads of people all actively getting involved in supporting the community to remember. So thank you for doing it.
Whereabouts was it, mate?
It was in we're in a little place like down the road from us is a little place called Raynham Village.
Yep.
And it was in the clock. It was around the clock tower at Raynham Village. So yeah, it was nice to go along to. On that note, let's get on with our guest. Our guest this week is Mindy. Mindy has started a new initiative where she encourages us to think about how we are gifting money effectively and whether we're doing that in the right way. So I'll let Mindy explain more. All right. Thank you, Russ. Appreciate that, mate. Right, let me just get my questions up. Just bear with me. Sorry, it's really interesting. I'm at home. I've done a workout. I've just lifted my head up, Mindy, from a really in-depth inheritance tax planning report that I've done for a client, and now I'm talking about kindness. I've got the weirdest life ever, I think. I mean, I'm just like the sort of the stuff that I need to switch my head from and to is really interesting. I'm doing loads of work at the minute on Raj. You sent this to me, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'm doing loads of work at the minute on my What Happens Next project.
Oh yeah.
Some of the conversations I'm having are, really, really interesting. Really interesting. So yeah, good. Right. Okay. So let's talk about kindness.
So do we want to mute Russ or should I just leave?
I'll mute myself. Don't worry.
Oh, okay. Right, then I don't have to do anything.
No, we're on it. We've only done 300 of these episodes, Mindy. We sort of know what we're doing. Okay, great. Mindy, thank you for joining us on the Kindness Project. How are you today?
I'm really, really well. It's lovely to be alive today.
That's good. And we were talking just before the interview about the fact that you've recently, well, yesterday, published a new book. Tell me about that.
Well, the project is one of a series of 4, and the wonderful business community that you and I are both in, Business is Personal 100, has been the source of all the authors for all the books. So 40 authors have taken part in 4 books, and this was the latest. And I think this one, it caused a lot of excitement because it's about motivation. And I think people really need that. Well, they always need that, but especially in turbulent times, so it was great.
What did you learn? I mean, because you get the opportunity to collate these books, read the articles, and potentially learn new stuff, right? So what did you learn from the contributors from this book?
Well, I knew that people have different motivators and different drivers. So I already knew that, but I wanted to see how each author approached it. And especially as our mission is to help other self-employed business owners to feel motivated. Because, it starts from within. Even if you get some, input from outside, you still get to choose whether you are motivated, whether you feel motivated, what you do to enhance your motivation. So I was very curious to see lots of different ideas and tips, and there's so many things in there. If somebody read the book cover to cover, I think they couldn't help but raise their motivation level. That's
what tip resonated with you the most?
I think it is the fact that, I can't remember who wrote about it, but it's the fact that you have to keep doing it day after day, week after week. But, you might be on a high, but then something happens and, you need to lift yourself up again and again and again, and that's what those of us do who really have kind of toned that motivation muscle.
It's positive habits, isn't it?
It's a habit.
Turning it into a habit is
That's right.
a factor. Yeah. And for me, I think part of that is identifying purpose as well. Because if you, and again, I'm having a lot of conversations like this at the minute, but if you're doing it just for the money or just for an external reason, but it's not giving you that internal joy, it's probably a bit more difficult to do, isn't it? So identifying your why and working out the reason that you get out of bed in the morning and do what you do is probably a key factor. However, we are here today to talk about kindness and the project that you've started, which I absolutely love. But before we start talking about that, tell us a bit about you.
Okay, so I am known for helping people get books out of their head into the market. And the book is just one manifestation of our thought leadership and what I call thoughtful leadership. Many people speak and write to share their ideas. That's not a new concept, but it's all about the quality. It's all about the quality of the time and the thinking that you put into things that translates into a high quality speech or book or podcast or newsletter or whatever the output is. Like I say, the book is a really nice, tangible manifestation. And I have done a lot of work with books 1,000 times, and I never get bored. However, it is just one way. So, I've been doing this 21 years, and it morphed into thought leadership, which includes, like I say, all of an expert's writing and speaking. Yep. And then that morphed into thoughtful leadership, because thought leadership, it can be misunderstood, and the term can be misused. And really, if it hasn't got the right kind of thought, the right amount of thought, it's just stuff. It's just content, and I'm a big fan of people aiming for the highest quality and the highest standard that they can. And I know you can relate to that.
What does thoughtful leadership mean to you?
Well, like I say, it is based on somebody having wisdom or thought leadership, but they choose to get that out to the market, get that out to prospective clients, customers, or just people they come in contact with in a thoughtful way. When I wrote the book, The Thoughtful Leader, 8 years ago now, there was a feeling that being thoughtful was maybe putting more effort into things. However, as humans, and this podcast is proof of it, we like to be thoughtful. It does come naturally to us, and it's just the other things that get in the way. When I say thoughtful, it's both senses of the word. It's thoughtful, that's something to think about, and thoughtful consideration. And really it's all about consideration of ideas and people.
Yeah. And that kindness, that thought about how your words have an impact is an interesting one, isn't it? Because sometimes, particularly online, I mean, you're talking about books, it's really interesting. And again, I'd be interested in your insight into this. I think sometimes the way that we communicate now on social media means that we're not thoughtful enough because it's so easy, right? So I remember when I was writing the Kindness Project book, there were huge paragraphs that I wrote and then deleted because actually I thought I'm writing that and it doesn't align to what I actually want to say I mean. But being thoughtful about communication is really important. So how do we get more thoughtful when it's so easy to communicate quickly?
There's one word at the root of all of this. So it's the first step to anything important, and that is intention. Simply having the desire or the intention to be thoughtful, to put that extra care and thought into something or someone, that is the first step. And when, like you say, when people are on social media and they dash off a comment or they react in some emotional way, they haven't stopped to think. And it doesn't have to require a lot of thought. It's not like you can never respond to something without putting 2 hours into, it's not like that. It's training yourself
to understand the impact, right? Yeah.
Think about it and be strategic and just be aware and be mindful and all that stuff. Thoughtfulness is different from mindfulness. If we have time, I'll explain the difference. But it's a choice, and it starts with the intention.
So we have got time. So explain the difference between that thoughtfulness and mindfulness perspective.
Yeah, I could do that very quickly. Being mindful is a state of awareness. And that is a wonderful place to be, because many times people are going through life unconsciously and certainly not mindfully. But thoughtfulness in my model of the world has some direction to it. So not only are you going to be mindful or become aware, but you are actually deciding how you want to respond to that environment or that decision, that person. So it actually has, again, an intention, a direction, different kind of energy. It's not just I'm aware, it's I'm choosing to do this with my awareness.
Yeah, no, I really like that judging model. One thing I'm really interested in, because and it's interesting because I think we're all guilty of doing this. When I said, tell me about you, you tell me about your work. And we all do that, right? We all like sort of define ourselves by what we do. What we like to do on the Kindness Project is dig a bit deeper, because I want to know about what drives you and your values and what makes you an amazing human being. And I've got to say, in research for this interview, and because we've known each other for a while now, I can't believe I haven't done it before. I watched your TED talk, which was really interesting and deeply personal. So I understand about the work. Tell me a little bit about you as a human.
So I still have to use the context of where I grew up and what I chose to do, but I did grow up in New York and the New York area. And I think our early childhood really does shape us. I'm not the first person to say that. What it did for me was it gave me a lot of confidence, because you have to survive over there, or else, you choose to move somewhere different. Eventually, I moved somewhere different, as into the UK. It was a good grounding in terms of, being direct. New Yorkers are straight talkers, and I like that aspect of myself. But there's, like I say, there's that moment of reflection, or maybe more than a moment, to be thoughtful. So I do really aim to be a thoughtful person. I would never say I am a thought leader, or I am a thoughtful leader. That's not appropriate. But I aim to be thoughtful in my words and actions. What drives me really is helping good people to do great things. That's at the root and the heart of everything I do. Most people never achieve their potential in life. This is my belief. And there's lots and lots of ways for people to do personal development, self-development. My particular passion is making sure that people discover their truth so they can speak their truth and live their truth. And that just underpins everything I do.
Yeah, no, I really like that. It's that element of authenticity that's the important bit, isn't it? It's that, how do we make sure that we are as honest with ourselves to ensure that we can live the life we want is I think the key factor there. I love that. Help me understand one thing. So what do you think the biggest cultural differences are? Because I love New York. I think New York is an amazing place. I remember coming out of the airport at New York for the first time and just hearing the taxi cabs. I was like, I'm in New York. This is brilliant. What do you think, because you've lived in both, what do you think the main difference is between living in New York and living near to London or in London?
Yeah, well, funny enough, I think the two cities are gradually becoming like each other, so London and surrounding areas, maybe the whole of the UK is getting a little bit more edgy, and New York maybe is getting a little bit toned down, probably not. But I moved over here because I found that it was just too frenetic. There was a lot of pressure. At that time, now that was over 30 years ago, I saw a lot of people developing stress-related illnesses. And I know that happens everywhere, but I just kind of saw that wasn't the path for me. And the UK at that time was a lot more gentle, more reserved. It still is, the way we communicate is different, and probably, the perfect way is somewhere in the middle. I don't know. But I've spent a lot of time really trying to relate to people, to connect. And a lot of that has to do with building rapport and meeting people where they are. So not coming across as a brash New Yorker, which I never was anyway. I didn't fit in there very well.
Yeah, well, it's interesting, isn't it? That element of building long-term relationships and trust, for me, is the only way to build relationships. It's that transactional side of doing things just never resonated to me.
Oh, don't get me wrong, Chris. People do build strong relationships and lots of trust in New York, and many, but it's the way it happens. And I suppose, you have to develop a bit of a tough shell, because, if somebody's talking to you in a gruff voice and, putting you on the spot and making you, it's because they care, but they're showing it in a different way. And, I have some very, very strong friendships, and obviously a lot of relatives who are still there. So it's not like one is better than the other. It's just a different energy, really is.
Oh, yeah. And sometimes you need that more direct energy, right? That's useful. That's useful. So one thing that Charlotte noticed when she was doing the research for these questions was the work that you do in schools. And I didn't know about this. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I'm a big believer in giving back, as you know. And one of the things I've always done, I mean, I trained as a trainer and speaker, and I've been blessed to be able to speak to, young people. And when I can, because, obviously it's part of my giving back, I do it at a much reduced rate. It's because I really want to help just provoke some thought, using that phrase again, and maybe motivate or inspire young people. And the earlier we can start, the better. You know this as well. And I think our listeners, if they have kids, they know how important it is for them to have good influences. There's certainly a lot of questionable influences online and elsewhere. So I feel with entrepreneurial experience, with personal development ideas, and the talks that I do tend to be around those two subjects, but just getting people to think about their values and what they could achieve, this whole achieving your potential. They start early, and you can embed that feeling of wanting to do more with their life, whatever that means for them. I would like to be a part of that from an early age.
And I think you're right. I think if we can inspire and encourage early, a lot of the, even though we can change it at any time, a lot of the direction of travel is set so young, isn't it? So if we can get kids sort of looking at, for me, it's about just giving all people a different worldview and saying, well, look at it this way because this is the potential.
Yeah.
I remember on the podcast we had an amazing guy called Emmanuel, who lived in is a guy who is from a Ghanaian background, lived in a council block in East London in Tower Hamlets, and he's really prominent in the financial education world. He does a lot of financial education now, and he made the point that even though, and I've had this conversation on the podcast a few times, even though he could see Canary Wharf, he didn't recognise the fact that that was 10 minutes away, because for him, his world was the council estate. And he was inspired by somebody who came to his school and said, look, why don't you just take a walk over and just sort of go for some meetings? And it was that spark that allowed him to go, well, actually, there's, like, before that, in his mind, there was a bit of an invisible wall there. Even though he could see, he didn't feel that was his world. And it was just somebody coming along going, you know what, you can do this as well. It just inspired him. I love it. Absolutely love it. So that was part one of the interview with Mindy. I hope you find that really, really useful. Now, 'tis the end. But the end is never really the end. Because the end is time for Joke of the Week.
It's the return and the winning.
No, my laptop is glitching. Hold on.
Oh, no. Not again.
Are we having Joke of the Week anytime this week?
Every week this
Yeah,
is.
I've got one. What is the gamer used to make breads?
What does the gamer use to make bread? Don't know.
Nintendo.
Nintendo?
Yeah.
Nintendo?
Yeah.
Oh dear, oh dear.
Where's my Willy joke?
Do you want a Willy joke?
No.
I think we know that now.
On that note, have a lovely week.
Get
And
one.
we'll see you. Oh, you got a Willy joke? Charlotte?
No, you said not to do it.
Don't do it. On that note, have a lovely week and we'll see you on the podcast soon. Bye.
Bye.